If everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, I said it. If everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. Now, this is ultimately a lesson in being a nice guy versus being a kind man. This is a life lesson from a 35-year-old guy who's been married 8.5 years and has 2 kids. It's just one of those things that you learn when you've been through the life experience I've been through. Let's start with me. Let's start with this character arc. I wasn't just born this way. I just wasn't always this way. I was a shy little kid. That's who I was. And I evolved into this. Well, see, the thing is, even in high school, as I got more involved in acting and doing music, what was happening is it was important to me. It was fundamentally important to me that I was a nice guy. I wanted to be known by everyone as a nice guy, by my friends' parents, by pretty girls. I wanted to be the nice guy. That was important to me because that's something I had going for me. I was the nice guy. And so therefore, it was very important that everyone saw me that way. It was important that everyone thought that I was the nice guy because I was the nice guy. So that was my identity. And while it's good to be the nice guy, you kind of get stuck in that typecast because then it's hard to be as manly when you're always the nice guy. And I learned that when I got married 8.5 years ago. Again, being a nice guy landed me my wife, someone who was out of my league, and she picked me. And wow, I actually did this. She picked me. But what's interesting is after I got married, I realized being a nice guy wasn't good enough for her. I mean, yes, any two people who get married ultimately have certain expectations that are never going to be realistic. And they learn those, especially in that first year of being married. That's part of being married. That's part of the growth experience of being married. But I learned that being a nice guy was actually becoming a bad thing because what she was needing out of me was more than being a nice guy. She needed someone who was more manly than that, who was more decisive and in control and had that masculine energy that is not really associated with being nice. So I've learned how to be more in control and more decisive and being what men are, because men are decisive in addition to being committed. Because being a nice guy, sure, I'm a committed guy, right? But that's not enough. It's a matter of being in control and calling things out like I see them and not always being agreeable to everything. And when I'm met with that strong energy, I can meet it right back in a calm, assertive way, of course. But I don't get my feelings hurt anymore. I used to, but something I've even talked in other videos about is imagine a life where no one can hurt your feelings, where no one can offend you because you no longer give them that power over your emotions. No one in my life has the ability to hurt my feelings at all. And if they did, it's only because I allow them to. Once you take that power away from them, and they don't even need to know that, that's a decision you make. You automatically become more in control. So what I've become in these 8.5 years of being married and being a dad now with 2 kids, what I've learned is I can still be kind. I can still be helpful. I can still have a good heart and help other people. Sure, I'm a little bit more jaded by the real world at this point. And I realized that being a nice guy wasn't enough. And that's okay, because I can still be kind. I can still be caring about people. I can still be gentle. Almost more importantly, especially for my wife and for my kids, I'm that strong leader, that masculine energy that they need, that a nice guy just isn't going to be able to provide. And honestly, no one could have taught me this. This only happened through years of staying committed to being the best husband I could be and the best dad I could be. And it was a gradual process. Sure, it would have been easy had I known this and this had been me from the beginning. But that's what happens in marriage. You both grow in your own ways. And so now my well-being isn't based on someone else. It's based on me being in control of my emotions, still being nice to other people. But it's also a level of confidence that I didn't have before. Why? Because before, when I was just the nice guy, so much of my identity was based on me always being nice. And if someone said something to me that was a bit harsh or did something I didn't agree with, well, I'm a nice guy, so I'll just go along with it. And now that's not me at all. Now, granted, I let more things go. Emotionally, things don't really affect me anymore. And I've learned that really, I'm in a life to where I got nothing to worry about, because if I don't let things bother me to begin with, it's fine. But when it is necessary for me to take charge, I do. And even then, it's not from an emotional point of view. It's a quiet sort of strength that I've learned. So, there's nothing wrong with being a nice guy, but it's not going to work long term to be successful in life. I've learned that. It's funny, like even in my career, I've learned how to be a better leader. And that nice guy that I always wanted to be, well, I'm still kind, but I'm also very direct, and I tell people exactly what they need to hear. I'm truthful and honest. And see, that's the thing, when you're a nice guy, it's hard to be honest, because sometimes you have to say things people don't want to hear. And being honest, and that's another thing with being married. You're married to someone who wants the truth. She wants to know what's really going on in your head. So in being more open and honest, I wasn't always as nice, in essence. But that's what she needed, and that's what other people needed. People actually like direct, honest information. They like to know that, as long as you can present that in a positive format. So these are things that I've learned in my life. I hope that you can find help in this, because really when I'm making this video, yes, I've got the camera on selfie mode. I'm looking at myself, but I'm imagining a version of myself that's much younger, a teenage version, because that's when this whole I'm going to be the nice guy thing started. And I've evolved into something that's no longer the nice guy. I'm a kind man, but I'm also very direct, and I tell people like it is when they need to hear it. I can tell people what other people would be afraid to tell them, because I care more about having good, direct communication when people need it. And when they don't need to hear something, I don't tell them. I'm not a nice guy, but I am a kind man.